This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
We will be dedicating the next 51 minutes to having a conversation around the kingdom of Bapedi, and this is in light of the Constitutional Court judgment that was handed down in March already, which declared that King Thulare III as the legitimate heir to the kingdom. So he is the legitimate heir to the throne. This has been a long battle for at least 47 years, and we'll get into the explanation around this particular battle, which then became a legal dispute, and at least now two commissions finding in the favor of King Thulare. Very important as well is another conversation to be had is the existence and of the Bapedi people. And when we speak of Bapedi, who are those people that we're speaking of? And remember last year, we had the Dr. Tebogo Ragogo on our Academic Digest, the paper that we normally discuss, academic paper that we normally discuss on a Tuesday. And in his paper, one of the issues that he raised as well was the issue around the language, the name of the language, and how in the interim constitution it was referred to as Northern Sotho. It was then changed to Sepedi, and the big issue around that was around the consultation that has taken place. So we will be taking your calls as well on 0861 987 000, your tweets at Aldrin Sampear, hashtag Power Talk, and also you can tweet at Power FM 987. We will be speaking to Bishop Kgetjebe Makotonyane, who is the counselor in the Bapedi family kingship and a spokesperson for King Victor Thulare III. Good morning, Bishop, and welcome to Power Talk.
Good morning.
Bishop, sure?
Yes.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Hello?
Hi, Bishop, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, so Bishop, I wanted to ask that in terms of this particular Constitutional Court judgment, and we know in terms of the legal battle that has been on for close to about 27 years, but the battle itself has been longer than 27 years, close to 47 years. What did that moment of that Constitutional Court judgment represent for the people of the Bapedi Kingdom?
Yes, the judgment says that the King Thulare III is the rightful king of the Bapedi.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so the president has already given him a certificate to start his kingdom. Yeah, his kingship.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
What was his sense of the judgment itself? Because there was tension between himself as well as his uncle, KK Sekhukhune, around who is the legitimate heir to the throne.
Yeah, the legitimate one to the throne is King Thulare III.
Yeah.
For his father, Ryan Thulare, is a son of a Kendall wife, Mangopodi.
Mm.
Yeah, the son of Thulare the second.
Yeah.
And then KK Sekhukhune is the son of Muramuche, who is the younger brother of the late Thulare the second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Ryan Thulare is the one who is the rightful one.
Yeah. So the king himself, King Thulare III, what was his understanding of this particular judgment? And I'm going to go back to this issue as well, that in terms of the tension within the family as well, that was caused, of course, because of this dispute over who is the legitimate heir. Has he expressed himself to the Bapedi people about what this means for him personally as well, but also what it means for the Bapedi kingdom?
Yes, King Thulare knows himself that he is the rightful one, the rightful king of the Bapedi, and his desire is to unite all the Bapedi to be under his kingship, and so that the Bapedi should no longer be divided. Yes.
Okay, Dr. Tebogo, so as I've indicated in the opening that this has been an ongoing battle, And well, there are a lot of issues, probably some that wouldn't be dealt with and sorted out in the next couple of or a couple of months. But in the interim, what would you say this Constitutional Court judgment brings to the Bapedi people?
Good morning, Aldrin, and good morning to our listeners, and good morning to the Bishop. I think it is proper for the Bishop maybe to elaborate more on the issue of the classification of the Bapedi. According to him, I will appreciate if he were to clarify, because there are different ethnic groups that are currently classified as Bapedi, but technically so. But the speakers of the language have different perspectives on the issue. A practical example, someone who's in Balobedu will say, I'm not a Pedi speaking person, I am Mulobedu. Others in the areas of Mapulaneng will say, I'm not a Pedi speaking person, I am Mopulana. So I think it is relevant for the Bishop to clarify, according to him, what is the meaning of Bapedi. Do they include Bahananwa, Batlokwa, Balobedu, and Bapulana?
Why is that important?
Because let me go back to the issue of Section 6.1 of the South African Constitution. It declares Sepedi as one of the official languages. But before the constitution can be finalized, there was an interim constitution of 1993. And in the section 3.1 of the interim constitution, Northern Sotho was actually listed as one of the proposed official languages. Ultimately, when the constitution was finalized, the Northern Sotho name was changed to Sepedi. And there was no a proper consultation with the speakers of the language. The process was not consultative because people were not consulted. So there was no transparency there. So if you were to check today, I think in the South African context, there are 6 universities that are offering Sepedi or Northern Sotho as a first language module. And when you visit the language policies of those universities, 5 universities are actually supporting Northern Sotho as the language name. It is only one university, which is UP.
Okay, so before we get to the name of the language and the dispute there, why is it important to deal with the identity of Bapedi? And what you are saying is that you need clarification from the Bishop, is that when you speak of Bapedi, who exactly is it that you're speaking of? So what is your concern there?
Because language name reflects identity. At the moment, people are not fighting for the lexical content or grammatical content. They are fighting for the language name. Some people do not accept Sepedi as a symbol of their identity. They do not support the name Sepedi as the name of the standard language because Sepedi specifies a particular ethnic group.
Okay, Bishop, do you agree with that expression that Sepedi identifies or links to a certain ethnic group?
No, the Bapedi is for all the Sotho people in the former Transvaal. All other languages are just dialect because the King Tulare in 18th centuries, he united all the tribes in Transvaal under his kingdom. So the Sepedi became official languages of all the Sotho people here in the Transvaal, in the former Transvaal.
Yeah. So does that mean that all of them, irrespective of the dialect that you're referring to, identify themselves as Bapedi?
Not all, because of apartheid and the division, the destruction of the kingdom by the apartheid government. Some are refusing to accept the Sepedi. They say they speak Northern Sotho.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so then that links us back to the question about when we say, and the Constitutional Court judgment makes it clear that King Victor Thulare III is the king of the Bapedi people, who are those people that we are referring to?
The Bapedi people means all the Sotho people in the former Transvaal. Because the languages they speak is only dialect. The state is the official languages of them all.
Okay. Okay, Tebogo, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I concur with him, but it is important for the bishop to note that the issue of language and dialect has always been politicized, especially in the South African context. The constitution itself, it can be claimed that compounds the problem, because when it says, let me quote the section of the Constitution. Section 6.1 says Sepedi is one of the official languages. The sentence official languages, Eldrin, can be interpreted in many ways. The common interpretation would be that in South Africa there are only 11 languages. But official languages can also be interpreted as if in South Africa there are many languages, but the constitution can only accommodate 11 of those languages. There comes the issue of Kilobedu, Spulana, etc. You go to Balobedu. The Balobedu is the official kinship according to traditional affairs. So where do you place them? Because Queen Mujaji is the official queen, and if I'm not mistaken, she's the only queenship in this country. So where do we place Balobedu in this debate? Because the Balobedu is the official queenship, the same as Amaxhosa kinship. And there is Xhosa language, Amazulu kinship, there is isiZulu language. The Bavenda kinship, there is Chivenda language, Amandebele kinship, there is Isindebele language. The Balobedu queenship, but there is no official language that is attached to. So
are you then saying that you identify Balobedu to be not a dialect? It is not a dialect?
No, it's not a dialect.
It's not a dialect?
No, it's a language on its own. It has its own unique orthography. Yes.
Okay, Bishop, do you agree that, or what's your take on the interpretation of the court judgment that says, excuse me, the interpretation of the court judgment that says that King Thulare is the king of the Bapedi people, that if we speak of the Bapedi people, that would then also include Balobedu?
Yeah, the queenship of Balobedu is questionable because when Zuma, the former President Zuma, proclaiming the kingship of the kings of the Southern Africa, the Balobedu was not mentioned that time. It was only came later. So it is very questionable because all other kings passed through the Commission of Nchambo, but then the Balobedu did not go there. Then the question is very questionable.
But if we speak about tradition, if we go back, for instance, to let's say the early 90s, 1900s, where then do we place Balobedu?
They were under the King Sekhukhune.
Under
King Sekhukhune the second.
Under King Sekhukhune the second.
Yes.
So based on that, then, Tebogo, does it not make sense?
It does make sense, Eldrin. But the bishop needs to understand something. The issue of language in South Africa has always been politicized. And the decision to classify Kilobedu as a dialect of the Sepedi language, that decision was just taken in order to accommodate the administrative purposes of the apartheid regime. But linguistically, it can be argued that Kilobedu is a language on its own. And there's a difference between official language and language. Sepedi is the official language because it's been standardized.
Yeah.
But technically, Kilobedu is a language, but not a standard language, because it was never codified. So Sepedi was just fortunate because the missionaries who worked together with the first language speakers of this language settled in the Sekhukhune area.
Yes.
This is the reason why they took the Sekoni together with the Sepedi lexical items and standardized them. This is the
So what are we then saying that it is because of what the missionaries did, in that they clamped all the different tribes together and said that based on your location where you are now at the moment, we are now calling this area Bapedi, the Bapedi Kingdom?
Not exactly, because critics may argue that the missionaries at some point were not even aware that they are the speakers of the other dialects like Sitlokwa, Silovedu, Sahananwa, Sipulana, and etc. Because the informants who were informing the missionaries wanted power. This is the reason why they literally forced the missionaries to take the dialect Sepedi and dialect Sekoni and consider them as the basis of the standard language. If you were to check the standard language today, there are no lexical items of the Kilobedu language, no lexical items of the Sahanano language, no lexical items of the Sitlokwa language. These dialects were highly stigmatized during the standardization process. But at the same time, they expect speakers of those languages to accept Sepedi as a symbol of their identity.
Yeah. Bishop, and I'm seeing that a number of tweets now coming through. Here is one from JR who says that Balobedu are not Pedi. The bishop must just wait a bit. Bishop, but then from your end, how then do you explain the role played by the missionaries?
Yes, the missionary, of course, the first missionary, Alexander Merensky, came here to Sekhukhune in 1861. And during that time, the Bapedi were united under the kingship of Sekwati, the father of Sekhukhune the first. So that is why he started. They adopted Sepedi to be the official language of all the tribes in the Transvaal, because all the tribes were under one king, King Sekwati. Other tribes were ruled by King Sekwati. That is why Sepedi is the official language. That is my understanding.
Yeah.
And the missionary started here at Moshaletse at King Sekwati. Yes.
Okay. Tumiso, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Good, man.
Yes. Look, man, I just want to comment and good morning to Doc from TUT. I know him from TUT. I just want to comment on the issue of language. Look, Adrian, the issue of language, I think, is not only happening in Limpopo. I think the whole country, we still have a problem of multiple language. In Sepedi, you call them Ripulelo Motwana. Like each and every, what do you call it? I cannot say tribe, but they've got dialects. I'll give you an example of Eastern Cape. There's Transkei, there's Ciskei. They're all different, but when I come from Ciskei, it's like in Limpopo, the people from Botowa, they speak Stok, but they're all categorized under the Northern Sud or Sepedi, as they call it. So, but then if they want to split it, for me, we're going to have multiple languages. Like Doc said, we're going to have multiple languages in South Africa.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with it, right? Brian, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, Brian.
And to the bishop and the expert there. I think, first of all, we need to look at the kingdom. From time immemorial, the word kingdom defines a geographical space. It covers a large area with little, not little, different language. It has been in that nature from time immemorial. You cannot define a kingdom by the languages, languages which small, which I will call dialect. You cannot define it by dialect.
Okay, so on which language do you base this on?
I am basing this on all, even in England. The United Kingdom is made up of a number of dialects. Mm-hmm. And at the top of it, we have got the English language. But if you've got an experience of, for example, that is the well-known kingdom in the world, which is still very strong. But once you start coming to the dialects which have been spoken, then you destroy the kingdom.
Okay, let's have that conversation just after Power News headlines. We'll be taking your tweets at Aldrin Sampear, hashtag Power Talk, and you can also tweet at Power FM 987. Your calls on 0861 987 000, and as I've indicated, tweets at Aldrin Sampear.
Power Talk with Aldrin Sampear, weekdays 9 a.m. to noon on Power 98.7.
So we continue our conversation looking into the Constitutional Court judgment which declared King Victor III as the legitimate heir to the Bapedi kingdom throne. And I just Googled now, and it's an old article, and this is in relation to the traditional leadership and the commission that was set up. In the commission that was set up, the commission came to the conclusion that there are only 6 legitimate kingships in the country, as announced by the president. And Deboho, if the president announces and says that, as per this particular commission, we are only recognizing 6 legitimate kingships, and one of those kingships include the kingships of Bapedi, is there an issue there?
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it is wrong for the Bapedi kingship to impose their identity on the Balobedu people, because the Balobedu people have got their own queenship, they've got their own language, they've got their own culture.
Why do you say that they're imposing?
They're imposing because earlier the bishop indicated that when they refer to Bapedi, they include Bahananwa, Baholobedu, Bapulana, and the speakers of the other dialects. But if you were to check the findings of the thesis in front of you, most of the participants, the participants were actually belonging to the 4 district municipalities in the Limpopo province where the Northern Sotho or Sepedi language is spoken. Majority of the speakers who were in favor of the Sepedi as the name of the language originated from the Sekhukhune. And those who originated from Capricorn, Waterberg, and Mopani argued that they do not accept Sepedi as a symbol of their identity. They are not Bapedi, but they are Batlokwa, Bahananwa, Balobedu, and Bapulana.
And then how do we see that? How do we match what the in terms of the similarities and what we see with the Xhosas, for instance?
Yes.
How do you compare the two? Can you contrast the two?
There are similarities and some differences.
Yeah.
The similarity, the only difference is that the Xhosas are cooperating. Amabaka, Amatlubi, and the speakers of the other dialects, they actually accept isiXhosa as a symbol of their identity. But when coming to the Northern Sotho or Sepedi group, speakers of the other dialects do not accept Sepedi as a symbol of their identity, and they cannot be forced to accept it.
Bishop Makotonyana, how do you respond to that? Number one, the accusation, I would say, that this is being imposed on everyone. And then number two is the issue of using language as an identity, and therefore, in the case of Bulubedu, you are saying that there is a queenship, and that should be respected.
And the official one.
Yeah.
We must refer to when we speak about the language, we must refer to the history.
Mm-hmm.
I have said that the Balobedu, during the 18th century, they were under the kingship Sekwati and Tulare. But now if you accept Balobedu as a language, not a dialect, it means there's going to be the division among all the black people in our provinces. Bakokwa, so on, they will accept their language, and then Baganana, and then Bagoni, and then Baroka, so on. So if we accept Sebeli to be the official language, then the people will be united. Let us look there at KwaZulu-Natal. They all accept Zulus. That's the languages, but there are also dialects there. One now the Balobedu used the Sepedi.
Just repeat that, Bishop.
I said that in KwaZulu Natal.
Yeah.
Not many dialects, but they all accept the Zulu as the official language.
Mm-hmm.
So the people here also in our province must accept Sepedi as the official language.
Yeah. How do you get to that point? Because what Dr. Tebogo is raising, he's saying that this is being imposed.
No, we are not imposing it, because I refer to the history.
Mm-hmm.
That there were, in the history, we don't have a Baganola kingdom.
Yeah.
We have got the Babeli kingdom under Pulares Gwadis Kukune.
Mm-hmm.
So the kingdom is the one which is directing the language.
The kingdom is directing the language?
Yes.
I don't understand. What do you mean by that?
The kingdom unites the people to speak one language, which is official languages.
Okay, so Bulubedu, we disregard that as a language.
Yes, and Bulubedu is Ranana, Baroka, and the Bagoni, they are dialect languages.
Okay.
We are not imposing them. We accept what the history has done.
Okay, so we've got Chief Matabeng Maila on the line. He's the cousin of King Victor Tulare III. Good morning, Chief, and welcome to Power Talk.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Which perspective are you bringing into this conversation?
The perspective of this conversation.
Yes.
Okay, my point of view in this conversation is that the language of Sepedi, it was initially known as the Northern Sotho by those by the government of Lebowa, because it was the government of Lebowa who wanted to unite the people of the Northern Province by then. So in order to unite those people, they created what you call Northern Sesotho. We are not the Northern Basotho. We are Bapedi. There is Bapedi, and the Basotho are the people in Lesotho and Free State. They are not saying they are talking Southern Sotho. They are saying they are talking Sesotho. Their language is Sesotho. So our language is Bapedi, is Sepedi. Those people like Batokwa, Bahananwa, those are dialects. But the main language is Sepedi.
Okay.
And then the issue of Balobedu.
Yeah.
The Balobedu have got their own kingdom. They are also struggling to get their own language. To be recognized. They want their language to be recognized.
Okay, so then based on what you're saying now, does Tebogo then have a point in saying that you can't then impose and say that as Bapedi, you also include Balobedu?
No, we're not imposing.
So Balobedu, as where you standing from now, are
I'm saying
excluding...
Balobedu have got their own kingdom.
Yes.
I think it is there, it is recognized. Although their queen, who is still a minor, and it was indicated that he will ascend to her throne when she is, I think, 25 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But she's now a minor at school. So, it is official that Balobedu have their own kingdom. So therefore, they are going to use Sulubedu because they are Balobedu as their language.
Okay.
Although they are going to struggle to get that right, but I don't know what is going to happen.
Yeah.
But they want this language to be recognized. If you can contact or consult Dr. Matola Motshekga, I think he will explain that better.
Okay, so does this mean that what the bishop mentioned earlier on, it wasn't correct?
Which one?
Because the bishop gave the impression that Balobedu also fall under Bapedi.
Yeah, initial ways, but since the government recognized their kingdom, I think they're going to have their own language.
Okay, so then if you then go back and you say that in terms of the historical significance, which you then argue that based on history, Balobedu fall under Bapedi.
Before?
Yes. Now you're saying that they were recognized by the government. So if the government did not recognize...
recognized by the government.
Yes. So if the government did not recognize them, and we go back into the historical significance as well as the history of the kingdoms, which you then argue that if we look into the 1800s, it is fair to say that Bapedi included Balobedu.
Yes, they included Balobedu because when you read history, you will find that Sekhukhune start from Limpopo up to Vaal.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a board there in Vaal. When you cross to Free State, it was written Mosheshe.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you cross, it was Sekhukhune.
Mm.
If you're well acquainted with history, you'll understand that this happened. I think those boards have been removed now.
Yeah.
I don't know the reason behind this, but it's no longer there.
Okay, let's go to the power line 061-987-000. We're in conversation with Bishop Makotanyane, who is a representative of King Victor Thulare III's kingdom, as well as the family as well. We also now have Chief Mathabeng Maila on the line, and we're joined in studio by Dr. Tebogo. We're taking your calls now on 061-987-000. You can also tweet at Aldrin St-Pierre, hashtag Power Talk, and also tweet at PowerFM 987. Maputa, good morning.
Good morning, Adrian. How are you?
Good, man. I'm
good, man. Look, Adrian, I think we should look at this conversation in three aspects, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a Sepedi, the language. There's a Bapedi, the tribe. There's a Bapedi, Bamarutin, the polity, right? Sepedi, the language. That's what the Constitution says. It doesn't say the people. It says the language. A language, a written language, also graph language, which is Sepedi. That does not take away the right of Balobedu as a tribe to call themselves Balobedu. It does not take away the right of Bahanana to call as a tribe to call themselves Bahanan. And then there's a polity, which at its height, it was during King Thulare. As a Bapedi polity, and this is the one which has been recognized by the president, saying Bapedi Bamarote. We are recognizing the polity which was able to have a control over other tribes in what is called Transvaal. That's why we must recognize that there's a Sepedi as a language, which is also Graf official language, which is mostly used as school. And there's a Bapedi as a tribe, and they've got the rest, which is Babina Noko, the people who are actually in charge, the royal house, which is Bapedi as a tribe. And then there's a Bapedi, the polity.
Yeah. Okay, David. Oh, is it Davis? Good morning.
Good morning, Andre. How are you?
Good, Davis.
I got two questions from Bishop Makotanyane there. All right. Bishop, as we have Vapedi Kingdom, and we have even the difference within ourselves as Vapedi Vagalefata and Vapedi Vagamotla, you see. Those things. Can maybe a bishop give us clarity on what he will, as Vapedi Kingdom, do to unite the Vapedi itself? Because now, as I have observed, there is 47 years is far too long. What will he do to unite the people of Vamaruteng as a kingdom? And also, the last question: what will they do to provide the youth of Vagaskukune with opportunity? Because this delaying of fighting within the difference of the slate between Vagamotlo and Vagalefata, it causes a lot of opportunity within ourselves. So
okay, then thank you for that. Tsepo, good morning.
Good morning, Aldrin. How are you?
Sharp, Tsepo.
And the bishop there. Okay, Aldrin, look, I think the previous caller before this one was right. I think they should be given a right to speak their language because of...
we're losing you there, Tsepo. Your network isn't great. Let's try again.
Yes, I was saying I think they should be recognized because of when I was speaking of history, let's start back from Monomotapa. Balobedi, they are descendant of Monomotapa. Around the 1200s, Monomotapa was ruling the whole of Southern Africa. So then how it comes to today that they should not be recognized? How possible is that? Because of each and every tribe in Southern Africa was ruled by Monomotapa. Even the Tularis, they are from at the... what do you call it? Mahalisburg. And that place is not Mahalisburg, it's Mohali. They derive from there when they are going to Skukune land.
Yeah. Okay. Clifford, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you, my brother?
Good, Clifford.
Yeah, this CPA and Northern Soto is just sometimes it's getting out of proportion. Actually, the other caller just took my weight. We have Basotho. Basotho, they belong to Mushweshwe. They speak Sesotho. So we don't have Northern Sotho. No. I mean, when you start with Northern Sotho, now you're talking about those who belong to Mushweshwe, but who live in the northern side of the country. So in the northern side, Transvaal or whatever, we speak Sepedi, and then under Sepedi, there are other ethnic languages like Chitokwa, Bolobedi, and all that stuff. All they should do, they must just fight to get those languages to get taught at the school. If they will win, I don't know. But actually, we are Mapedi, and under Mapedi, there are different ethnic groups.
Okay. Do you agree with that, Deboho, that all it is actually is just about pushing for the fight? And Chief Maila said earlier on as well, the recognition of the language as an official language.
Yeah, I partially agree with both of them. Let me start with Ntate Maila. Ntate Maila touched on the issue of language and dialect. And I've already indicated that the issue of language and dialect have always been politicized in South Africa. And there are reasons for that. Number one, the European missionaries who codified these languages, these South African indigenous languages, in their own languages, in their own countries, they don't have concepts dialect and vernacular. But when they came into the African continent, they said this one is a language and this one is a dialect. So we need to interrogate who dictates what is language and what is
a dialect.
He also talked about the issue of Northern Sotho, Southern Sotho, and Western Sotho. Those are the issues of the Bantu Authorities Act of 1951, because their main purpose was to divide people. That Lona, as from today, you no longer Botswana, but you are Western Sothos, you are Southern Sothos, you are Northern Sothos. But today, onomasticians will always argue that Northern Sotho is a colonial name.
Yes.
It doesn't suit to be maintained or to be included in the South African Constitution as one of the official languages, because it is a colonial name. The very same Sepedi it is also questionable to be maintained in the South African Constitution, because bear in mind, in 1993, Sepedi did not appear in the interim constitution. It only appeared in the final constitution, but there was no transparency there, simply because people were not consulted. Ntate Maila also mentioned that the Balobedu are struggling to escalate their language to the status of an official language. And that is not the truth, because there's a technical committee by the name of Balotakoma that is busy working on the unique orthography of Kilobedu. This after parliamentary...
But isn't the intention to also get it as an official language?
Yeah, but for it to be escalated to the status of an official language, you need orthography.
Yeah.
So that the language can be standardized. So they are busy with the orthography issue. This after in 2017, there was a parliamentary constitutional review committee, and the then CEO of the Pan South African Language Board indicated that it is important for the Balobedu people to start with the issue of orthography, because to standardize a language, we need orthography.
But Chief Maila, if you can just quickly go back to the point that you were raising earlier on, and you said that you don't know whether they will succeed in it because of the difficulties around it.
The Balobedu, the language of Balobedu.
Yes, the language itself.
No, I told you that the issue of this language, yes, they are busy working on it. So I don't know whether they will succeed, but I think, as you indicated before, that he did orthography for that language to exist. So they're saying that they're still busy on that.
Yeah.
And then you see, when these people are writing examinations, they are writing CPED. The grade 12 writes CPED.
Yes.
Not Northern Suit. So maybe the Kilobedu will come in later on. I don't know when, but as long as their kinship is recognized, the language must be also recognized.
Okay. I think that's a fair point. Do you agree to that?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Bishop, do you agree with that point that was just raised by Chief Maila?
Anyway, just for the peace, yes, you may.
Just for the peace. Why do you say that, Bishop?
Because my question is that during the early century, the Balobedu were under the Bapedi, under the kinship of the Bapedi. So if they allowed Bapedi, their language became official. So other dialects will also, the people of other dialects will also strive to have their dialects to be accepted as official languages. So it's going to divide our people.
Okay, let's touch on that particular aspect. What's the danger in that particular division, Bishop Mokotanya, that you speak of?
No, unity is very important in every nation. So to have unity through the language is very important. Yes.
Okay, Chief Maila.
Yes.
The issue around the bishop warns of divisions.
You see, he is saying the other groups, the other dialect groups will complain, saying they have recognized the Kilobedu, so they must recognize our old language. But the fact here, if the government recognizes the kinship of Balobedu, obviously their language must be recognized too.
Yes.
But those dialect groups won't be recognized as kings, or let's say Batokwa. Batokwa won't be recognized, their kinship won't be recognized, because they never had that kinship before. So Balobedu, as Queen Mojaji, their leader, who is known as the Rain Queen.
Yeah.
So obviously, there was a kinship there. That is why the government today recognizes that kinship. Therefore, I'm emphasizing the point that their language must be recognized too. How can you have a kinship whereas the language is not recognized?
Okay.
What kind of a kinship is that?
Okay. And then it also goes back to the point that you were raising earlier on, that when it comes to what's happening in schools, and this is a point that you also raised, Tebogo, in your papers, about which language is recognized as an official language. And right now that language is Sepedi. On Twitter, Native in Azania says there's a missing historical fact from the bishop's side versus what Tebogo is putting forward. The bishop is arguing from a historical blanket perspective using imposing submissions. Martin says there's an element of power in language usages. Those whose dialect is spoken by the majority tend to undermine the minority dialects. Politics of Sepedi language is also dominated by those who come from a Sekhukhune area. As a result, they drive this particular narrative. And tweet here from Tebogo says that what is the criteria used to define the kingship? But just in closing, Tebogo, where to from here for the recognition, officially so as well, for Balobedu?
The bishop indicated that should the government decide to recognize other dialects, people will be divided. Mm-hmm. People are already divided because there are those who identify themselves as Bapedi and there are those who identify themselves and as Northern Sotho speakers. Mm-hmm. So people should be united. There must be peace and solidarity. I congratulate their victory as the Bapedi kinship. Mm-hmm. That is a milestone achievement. Mm-hmm. However, it is important for them to understand that in the Limpopo province, there are divisions that is caused by the name that is attached to the standard language, Sepedi. People are fighting for the name of the standard language, not the Bapedi kinship.
So if Kilubedu is then recognized officially, does that then answer the question around the divisions?
Not really, because we still have the speakers of the other dialects.
Yeah.
Yes, Kilubedu on its own is a language because it has its own kinship, but it is not an official language. So it is important for people to understand there's a difference between a language, dialect, and official language. Okay. Sepedi is the official language. Kilubedu is not. Kilubedu is a language, but not yet official.
An official language. Okay.
Yes.
Bishop, just in closing, what would your message be to people who are listening right now, and also the disunity that you spoke about earlier on?
Yeah. My message is that let all the black people in our country, the Bapedi, be united under the kingship of Tulare, Victor Tulare. Mm-hmm. So, because through unity, the people there will be the progress. So we also, of course, I understand what there was said, that Sepedi is a language, but not official one. So then I accept it, yes.
Okay, then thank you so much. That is Bishop Kgetejeba Marco Tanyane, as well as Chief Matabeng Maile, cousin of King Victor Tulare III. Dr. Tebogo, thank you so much for your time as well.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.